way to do it, like we're turning something that, all of a sudden you discover it's a massive passion of yours into a full-fledged business. That is essentially like you hit the magic bullet, like they say, right? Like
I think so.
a lot
yeah.
of people struggle. They go through their life trying to figure out what their passion is. You not only found your passion, but you also decided that you're going to actually use it as a business. And that's really probably the best way to, feel like you never worked a day after that.
Exactly. Exactly, right? If you do something you love, you're never going to work a day in your life, which is a saying that I've heard many times, right? And it's true. It's true. I believe it.
Here we go, another episode of Canada on the Rocks. I am your host, Fady Khudair, and today I am joined with one of my best friends, Seb Duperron. How are you, buddy?
Hi, Fady. Great. Thanks for having me.
So, Seb, you've been doing photography for ages, and I just wanted to kind of, it's one of those situations where, like, every time I have a fantastic photo that I post, everybody's commenting on it. Where the heck did you get it? Who's your photographer? So I figured might as well just bring the man responsible, the man behind the lens, to talk all about that. So again, Seb, tell me a little bit more about the man behind the lens.
Well, I started doing photography more as a hobby. And this was maybe about 10, 12 years ago with a more, I don't want to say more serious camera, but a more professional camera. There are different grades. And I kept, just shooting my kids, shooting my family, going on trips, walking around the neighborhood, and just taking photos that I thought were interesting. And like Instagram wasn't a big thing at that point.
No.
Facebook wasn't the same for sharing. So most of the stuff stayed on my hard drive, basically, and then I moved to Ottawa in 2018. The pandemic happened. And after the pandemic, I just kept doing it as a hobby still, but was looking a little bit more into the business part of it and started booking a few shoots. And one of my first shoots was with a lady who wanted some personal branding photos. So we did that in her house. And at that time, I was going through a rough patch. I wasn't sleeping well. My mental health wasn't the greatest. And that, I remember that day specifically, I woke up, I think it was 2 o'clock or 2:30 in the morning and couldn't sleep anymore. Severe bout of insomnia. And I was very frustrated because it had been multiple days. And I spent an hour and a half with her. We were talking and about music and life and things like that. And we were doing the photos. And then I was driving home after that. And I was like, I didn't feel sleepy, tired. I didn't think about I was just so happy. And it was like everything was blocked out. All the troubles that I was having mentally and sleep and all that were gone for those 90 minutes that I spent doing the photos.
Yeah.
So from there, I decided, you know what, this is worth me looking more into and growing it as a business.
Yeah, and that time too, like, don't get me wrong, like after the pandemic, everybody was just suffering mentally. It was one of those times where, like, we've all taken a beating, if you will, mentally.
Right.
Isolation is not really good for anybody. Like, yet alone, like when you have the whole world isolated from one another. So you found your passion from the sounds of it.
I found another passion. Yes.
Another passion.
Yeah. And that's one thing with me is I'm passionate about a lot of things. So yeah, in photography, yeah, definitely. It was already fun because it's creative. It's visual. Before that, I was more into the written side of creativity. So writing novels, screenplays, short stories, that type of thing. Going into the visual just opened up another aspect, just another side of my who I am. I am a creative person. So, and then it just like...
Just kind of all started trickling down from there.
Exactly. And I saw all the opportunities that were there to photograph cars, product, food, people, animals. We went on a trip to BC and Alberta, Rockies, right? Lake Louise, Lake Moraine, all these places. And I was fortunate enough to capture in photos with my family too. So it was just fantastic. And it took off from there.
It's a good way to do it, like we're turning something that, all of a sudden you discover it's a massive passion of yours into a full-fledged business. That is essentially like you hit the the magic bullet, like they say, right? Like
I think so.
a lot
Yeah.
of people struggle. They go through their life trying to figure out what their passion is. You not only found your passion, but you also decided that you're going to actually use it as a business. And that's really probably the best way to, feel like you never worked a day after that.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. If you do something you love, you're never going to work a day in your life, which is a saying that I've heard many times. Right. And it's true. It's
Yeah.
true. I
Oh, yeah.
believe it.
And then this is actually something that is quite common that I see, that hot seat over there, where somebody comes in and discovered their passion. They've discovered something that they're really good at, but they're really good at because they want to be really good at it. It's their passion. It's their pride and joy goes into it, right?
Absolutely.
So what sort of services do you guys offer in terms of, I mean, photography is massive,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
What do you offer? What's your niche? What's your market looking like?
Practically since the get-go, I was more focused on helping local entrepreneurs with growing their business because I did it earlier. The first business that I started was as a freelance translator, copywriter, and again, going to that creativity, writing, creative writing side of things. So, and I saw how difficult it is to build a business, to get your image online, how important your online image is, because nowadays, whether you like it or not, most of the time that's the first contact you have with potential clients.
And somebody had mentioned something to me actually on the podcast as well, to give them credit for it, obviously. Normally, you've got about 8 touches or so before you're in touch with that client. So
Yes.
your image is obviously everything when it comes to
That's right.
putting yourself out there and making sure that the client is seeing something that resonates with them, that motivates them enough to do business with you. So how are you guys helping in that regard?
I see it as bringing my creativity to help them, because sometimes having an outside eye, outside opinion, and somebody who's going to tell you what's working, what's not working, where you can improve, what are your pain points? Why do you think? Are you comparing yourself to XYZ competition? And this is going to be even more important now that we're going into more of a buy Canadian movement, right? Like this wave is growing, the swell is growing, and hopefully it doesn't stop anytime soon.
Yeah.
So how are you, like these local entrepreneurs, how are you ready for this? Are you ready for this extra attention? Is your online image up to your own standards and to your target audience's standards?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'll offer and it starts with, it can be as simple as changing your headshot and going into branding photography, show them the story, show them who you are through images, through video. And if you're selling a product, then that also figures into it. If you're selling a service, there's ways to tell your story as well with photography.
So what takes taking really good, like what goes into really good branding photos and things like that for you guys?
I think authenticity is a big thing. I think people are looking to make connections, human connections. I'll take a personal example. We shopped for a car late last year, and we ended up purchasing from one particular dealership because of the salesman, because we connected with the salesman. We could have, this is a common, like it's a common car, it's a new car. We could have gotten it from other dealerships in the city, but he was the salesman that we connected with. He was the one whose technique and his approach worked for us. So I think that's what a lot of customers are looking for. Again, connection, show your authenticity. I think also going into the brand is show your potential customers what the experience is of working with you.
Yeah.
Right?
That's big too, because a lot of the times, like, people are just like, what is it going to feel like? What is it going to look like? And then they also want to know that you've helped other clients too, right? That are like them, and then from there, well, okay, now I know you and I trust you and I like you and I want to do business with you. One of the biggest things that you touched on, and which I'm glad that you brought up, because I feel like it's a common theme within the hot seat that we have, is that people really do business with people that they feel a little bit of a connection with, that connection, that sort of emotional decision making comes from the person that's doing the sales, right? Like,
Yeah.
So, and then we justify that after with logic, and the logic being, okay, he's competent, he knows what he's talking about. It looks like he's done it with so many other people. So But first, like you mentioned, you've literally that decision was made based on how you connected with the person.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit more about the different aspects of it. So you guys do obviously the branding, you do the, let's dig into a little bit more of the luxury sort of theme that I've been seeing on your Instagram. I've been kind of noticing from what you guys have been delivering. Tell me a little bit more about that.
The luxury aspect comes from the quality and the effort and the going the extra mile in your creativity, in your the finished product that you give to the customer. And it starts with the strategy, right? How can my photography services help you achieve your goals? Help you become the go-to brand in Ottawa, the go-to restaurant in Ottawa. So I think that sometimes people are going to confuse pricing with luxury, but I think that's no longer the case anymore. I think it's more of the experience, and again, it boils down to the connection, right? If you're able to connect with people and show your authenticity and whatnot, and it'll make their experience luxurious.
And that's the thing too. Like, for example, you can go out and spend $100 on a headshot, right? But like, is it really affecting you? Is it really bringing your brand, your authenticity out? Is it really bringing that sort of you as a person out of it? Like, that's really where it makes a difference, right? Like sitting there and really just having that connection with the photographer. I know from experience, it's like I know that my best photos are been done by none other because of the fact that we have that amazing connection.
Yes.
I'm almost smiling in front of the camera without noticing I'm smiling because I'm just talking to you.
Right.
I'm just having that sort of engagement with you. And you're taking the photos, and it's not like, it doesn't seem like it's fake. It doesn't seem, because it's not.
No.
It's really just authentic. Like we're having that sort of bromance, if you will, and you're taking the photos as we're going. So let's dig into it. What does it take to take a great photo? What makes a great photo for you?
Well, it depends on your subject matter. If we're talking about headshots, again, it's the connection that you have, right? If I just let you walk in, tell you how to stand, tell you to say cheese when I click, and then you're gone, the photo's going to look like
We'll have that black and white,
no manner of
people's retinas
photoshopping or AI or whatnot is going to improve that photo. But if I come in, if I don't rush you, if I prepared you beforehand, before you even showed up, because it starts before, like again, we're talking about headshots. It starts before you show up, right? It's all in the prep before, and then I put you at ease. We talk about life, and then you forget that you're here for a headshot.
Exactly.
So when the time comes for me to click, the photo is there, and you didn't it's like, I didn't really that done,
because it is a glimpse, right? Like it's literally a moment,
it's a snapshot.
Very particular snapshot of that perfect moment that you have to capture. So when you're capturing a photo, and it doesn't matter what the subject matter is, what are some of the difficulties that you're having that you're always kind of watching out for in order to take that good photo?
Well, there's always the technical aspect, right? You always have to work with the light.
Yeah,
light is a huge factor, especially for events. The Beyond Networking events, it's practically never the same location.
No.
So
it's always a nightmare to try to figure the lighting.
For the lighting, very often, yes. Other than that, the obstacles for event photography, in particular, I know but in particular for event photography, it's to get the candid moments, right? Like the photos that you're referring to of yourself, they're like, most of them were candid. Right? You didn't even know I was pointing my camera at you. And that's my approach, is to melt away, be a flower on the wall, and you don't notice me, and there's the shot is there and it's fantastic.
Yeah, and those seem to be like some of the best photos I've seen, like whether for myself or for other people in the networking events. It takes a talent to do that though. How do you get to that stage?
I think it's observation skills and anticipation. It comes from experience. For the first time I did those events, they weren't the photos weren't that great, honestly, because I didn't have that experience and knowing the crowd and knowing I've been to enough events with you, with Sarwar, with Megan, that I know now how you guys act, how you interact, what your expressions are, right? So that's what I'm looking for. Even if it's a newcomer, then I've gotten enough experience by now that it takes me less time to
Yeah.
pick it up.
So there's
Those
certain
reactions,
signs, certain things
yeah,
that you want to watch
yeah,
out for
that's
to be able to
exactly.
capture that particular
And
moment. Yeah.
so you get a vibe for the moment also if they're laughing, and then you hear a laughter, so you turn and there's a potential shot, so you
So
stick with it. And
yeah, no, it's fantastic because like a lot of those photos are just like they're mind-boggling how you've been able to capture those moments.
Now-
One of the things that I wanted to kind of chat with you about, with respect to taking it from a hobby into a business,
yes,
what does that challenge look like? How are you guys doing it? Tell me a little bit more about how you kind of start putting processes in place and things like that to make a go of it.
the challenge for me at the beginning when I started was getting to know people, because I had moved to Ottawa in 2018. We're talking late 2022 by now when I started thinking about more of the business. I had just met Anmar, and he had introduced me to Beyond Networking, and from there to Megan's group. So I was growing my circle of acquaintances who were to become friends, but I was growing the number of people that I knew, because until then, I was working at home as a translator. I barely saw anybody after moving from Montreal to Ottawa. And then the pandemic happened, so I saw even less people.
Yeah.
So, and then growing and just getting to know more people and telling these people, yes, I'm a photographer, and getting my name out and because there's just so much you can do with social media, Instagram. Obviously, it's a big part of it now.
Yeah.
Won't lie. But to me, and this might be showing my age, but I'm still looking for that human connection. I'm still looking out to, and that's
Well,
why I love going to these events.
No, for sure. But without it, you can't really make a sale, anyways. Like you know, and we all know, like for any business to really call it a business, you really have to make a sale.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, you have to ring that register somehow, whether it's booking the meeting, booking the shoot, going out to events and like taking the photos. Without doing that, you're not gonna be able to
Absolutely.
make your sale.
Absolutely. Definitely. You're 100% right there. So
So what do you suggest, like the biggest sort of, I want to call it like the sort of like the best advice that you can give to somebody starting out in this business?
patience.
Patience.
Take the time to hone your craft. Take the time to learn your equipment, learn how to use your equipment. Take the time to explore your creativity.
Oh, the cool thing about nowadays too, and I don't mean to cut you off there, but it's just like the digital aspect. You can take so many photos and delete them anyways.
Absolutely. And you're talking about all these great shots. And another secret, which some photographers may not want me to reveal, but for that one great shot that you're referring to that you saw, there's 50 others on my hard drive that didn't make the cut.
Correct.
So, right, and you're right about that digital aspect. So yes, take advantage of that. You're no longer working with film where it takes time and it costs money for you to find out if that shot was great. You can look at it on the back of your camera right away and take it again. Take advantage of that. Just learn. Okay, the photo didn't turn out the way you wanted it. Why? Figure out why, and then figure out how you're going to correct that for the next shot that you want to take until you get to that point. That's for the artistic part of it. The business side of it is, again,
it's a whole other ball game, but
that's right. But just get your name, get your work seen, get your name out there. Make sure people know you're a photographer. They have to know you exist, because Ottawa is a relatively small town.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of photographers here. Again.
And then one of the things that I really enjoyed about, like, when I first met you and start talking about this, is like you were never afraid to put your name out. You're never afraid to like knock on doors in a the literal sense. Like, hey, I'm offering those services, whether it's a freebie or a try me out or whatever at the beginning, so you can get your feet wet, you can get your name out, you can get those people to book you again and again and again.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fantastic way. It shows the client that you are absolutely dedicated to this. Like, you're so willing to do it, even if it's free at the beginning, to make sure that the work is there.
That's a big thing also, is to show how serious you are about the craft and the business of photography, If you're just a fly by night type of photographer or business person, I think that goes for any business anyway, right? And I think a lot of people have learned that since the pandemic, because a lot of people tried things, and good on them, they tried, but for whatever reason it didn't work out. Maybe because you're trying, but they're trying, so that's the good part of it.
And the biggest thing too, especially like when you're starting out and you're trying, it's the amount of no thank you that you're gonna hear is it's daunting. It could definitely take a toll on the business. It could take a toll on you as a person, and it could be very, very discouraging. But just sticking with it is really the biggest.
Yes, it could be discouraging, but I do believe that no connection. There's no such thing as a bad connection.
Yeah.
Even if I go up to somebody who doesn't need a photographer at that time, there's no way to know if maybe in a couple of months they're going to need somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to go through their mental Rolodex and say, who do I know who can do photography? Oh, I met Seb at Beyond Networking a few months ago. Give him a call. Or they leave the Beyond Networking, they go to another meeting, or they go to have dinner with friends, colleagues. Hey, and one of them out of the blue, you know what? I would really use a new headshot. My headshot doesn't look good at all. And I just met a guy. He does that. So even if you do get an initial no, there's no telling what can happen later.
It's funny you say this, because most people are actually willing to give you their connection before they're giving you their business, believe it or not.
True. Yeah, I believe that.
It's like, especially with real estate, we get it all the time. It's like,
I can imagine.
My friend so-and-so is looking at buying and selling. Oh, great. Yeah, thank you so much. When they see what you've done with their friend, they go,
yeah,
I can use him now. I know I can trust him.
That's right.
But it's you have to put yourself out there. Like, if you don't put yourself out there, you're never going to get people to book you.
That's right.
For anything.
That's
Shoots, businesses, events,
Absolutely.
anything. For folks that are watching, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. And if you like what you see, please don't forget to hit the like button. Also, if you really want to see more and more businesses like that, don't forget to comment and let us know what you think. Good or bad, we'll take it. We got thick skin. And then also, if you really want to kind of continue seeing stuff like this, hit that bell icon and subscribe so you can get more and more episodes. And you can learn everything about businesses here in Ottawa, see all the fantastic businesses, and also our real estate part as well. Thanks again.